welcome back. Hope you enjoyed that little break. We're about to start in about 15 minutes, our last debate of the day. But first, in a shock departure from our usual format, you'll notice the chairs have been slightly rearranged, and that's because we've got a special treat for you, and I wonder if you can taste the difference here. I'm going to hand over to Chris Lewis, who is joined on stage by Phil Jordan, who is the Group CIO of Sainsbury's. And for those who maybe don't know who Sainsbury's are, Sainsbury's, I believe, is the second largest food retailer in the UK. It's a massive company. So if you want a good example of a large enterprise in a major vertical, this is it. So please give a warm welcome to Phil and Chris.
And my welcome too. Thank you so much for joining us. And in fact, it's welcome back to the great telco debate, because you have indeed contributed when you were in your role at Telefonica. But roughly 5 years ago, you left the telecom industry and joined Sainsbury's as Group CIO. Just give us a view, looking back at the telecom industry from a retail senior position. How do you view the telecom industry?
It's a good question. I mean, the one thing that probably will depress you is we don't talk about telecoms all that much. And I was desperate to contribute to the last debate, but we'll come back to private networks. Yeah. There's some really interesting parallels between retail and telco, I think. Both industries are being sort of disintermediated by big digital players. Both industries have clear sort of barriers to entry. You know, for telcos, it's networks. For us, it's stores and physical footprint. So there's some interesting parallels. The biggest difference, I think, is genuinely in customer centricity. If I'm honest, I think I came out of a telco, and I think we used to think about customers, but when you go into a retailer and every single day you open your doors and 30 million people decide whether they want to shop with you, it's very different. I think telcos, treat customers as a bit of an abstract concept, whereas
no, don't hold your punches.
No.
That's true. Yeah.
And I understand why, because most of the big CSPs are B2B, B2C, wholesalers. It's a complex business model, and a lot of the time the customer's a long way away in terms of arm's length. But then you work in a retailer, you know, and I mean it's.
Well, the touch point is there every day. Isn't it?
Yeah, and you get instant feedback.
And of course, the touch point in a telecom situation is often when people go back to contact the contact centre about a renewal, about a complaint or whatever. Yeah. So, which is why NPS is always so low, isn't it? Because it's always when there's a bad thing going on. Yeah. But yeah, it is. They're very different industries, and I'm sure we'll come back to you mentioned the private issue. Yeah. But talk us through a little bit about Sainsbury's, and it's not just the pandemic. I mean, just the economics and the activity and what's been going on, and how you've survived and thrived.
Well, you're right, we're a big food retailer, but we're also one of the biggest general merchandise retailers, and we have a big loyalty program as well, the biggest loyalty program in the UK, which we call Nectar, and we're also a bank as well. So it's a kind of an interesting mix of businesses in the Sainsbury's Group. And the pandemic's actually been, I think, a real catalyst for our business. You know, it's difficult to talk about the pandemic and draw any positives out of it, but I think for us it's been transformative. I think we've done things probably we would not been brave enough to do. So like we took the Argos business, people in the UK will probably know Argos, and we sort of flipped that to being an entirely digital business. We closed loads of stores. We wouldn't have been brave enough to do that. We've fundamentally changed the distribution model, converting a lot of the back end of Argos. We probably wouldn't have been brave. We even got rid of the catalogue, which we wouldn't have been brave enough to do probably. So I think it's been transformative. It's put food retailing very much back, I think, at the forefront of the government's mind and the public's mind as well. So, you know, I think it's been good. It's been quite good for our business, I think, in terms of driving change. Obviously, everybody knows in all the industries you work with, but massive channel shift to online, which has slipped back now. I mean, we've seen customers moving back to old shopping behaviours as well. Which is why, you know, I think, again, one of the big differences between the sectors is we put an awful lot of emphasis on loyalty programs and data to make sure we understand buying behaviour and customer preference and where customers choose and how we show up. And again, I think that's one of the big differences between my experience of working at a telco and working in a retailer. So we got through all the challenges of the last few years, which has not only been the pandemic, it's been Brexit, it's been global supply chain issues. Now it's hyperinflation and hyper interest rates, and all the challenges. Liz Truss's government, all the challenges we've had to deal with. we've weathered pretty well, I think.
I think the word you used in your when we swapped emails was perma-crisis.
Yeah, well, it feels like that. Yeah, I think we've had the Suez Canal blocked at one point as well, with three ships behind it with all our stock for last Christmas.
So the loyalty thing absolutely fascinates me. So any advice you would give to the telecom industry, because, well, do we even have a loyalty scheme within the telecom in the way you describe it? You've touched upon it already, but just build on that a bit for me. What lessons learned from what you do?
Well, it's the glue. I mean, loyalty scheme, Nectar is the glue that holds our business together, if I'm honest. I mean, it's a business in its own right. We don't break out what it contributes, but it contributes really materially to our business in profit terms. And we make money in 3 different ways. But the number one thing is, it's the one thing that glues the customer together throughout all our businesses and all our channels. And, and I think I remember my time in telcos, we were constantly looking for a way to sort of, to understand the customer from a multi-product perspective. But I don't think we ever really did it. Whereas clearly it's a little bit easier for a retailer because you're catching data and you're leveraging data based on a sort of shopping experience, retail, online or physical. But it really is the glue. It's the most important asset we have, I think. So everything we do, and we'll, early in the next year, we'll go fully into personalized pricing. We want to really push sustainability data down into your personal shopping experience so that you can shop our store and pick a low carbon basket. You can, so all of that's possible because frankly we collect data about customers and we offer that back to them in terms of loyalty, and we leverage it ourselves in terms of a much richer buying experience. And then we make money because we use that data anonymously to offer campaign management to PepsiCo and Unilever. And now we're also a digital media company because we can help you place ads better than most people.
So any big any big requests for how the telecom industry should change the way it does business with you? Because I think and I should have checked back what year it was, but one of your requests last time was please take the handbrake off. And I think you're using lots of sailing analogies about tacking left to right and moving around. I mean, any particular...
No, but I thought it was really interesting, the debate you had a minute ago, and a number of people did say it, but really, honestly, enterprises are not obsessing about which bearer and which technology to use, not remotely obsessing about that. We're interested in our outcomes, the business outcomes. I'm interested in how quickly can I get somebody through a till, how much shopping can I get digitally inside a store, and how much data can I deliver to an endpoint inside my store reliably. Now, they're all connectivity outcomes, but we don't ever talk about them as connectivity outcomes. So I think my ask, and people touched on it, you have to understand, you have to partner with or understand the vertical well enough to sell connectivity, yes, but probably solution selling to help us deliver our outcomes. And they're never about connectivity. The one thing that's happened that was about connectivity, I think we realised, I think you said it, Chris, in the last debate, application providers don't think about connectivity. And what you're seeing is automation and immersive experiences developing in store that haven't thought through the connectivity requirement. And we ended up getting into that trap 3 or 4 years ago, and we had to do a complete rebuild of our wireless infrastructure because we weren't treating the network as a product. We were thinking of all the application services as product, but not the network. So that's the one time where we've had to sort of pivot and really think about network, but we quickly forget about it again because it's a commodity. Yeah. Honestly, it's a commodity. And I would buy it from whoever can bundle it and offer it to me effectively.
So I was lucky enough to visit, you don't know about this question, but anyway, I was lucky to visit the Raiders Stadium in Vegas early in the year, and I asked the people running the stadium, where's 5G fit in? And they said, nowhere at the moment. But can you see 5G delivering something in store in the future in conjunction with the telecom industry?
Well, we're not a port, right? So I get that Graham was talking about the use cases for that, but not in the near term, not in the medium term. I can see, the paradigm shift in a store will be, we're going to see the checkouts disappear eventually completely. We're going to see a lot more high definition video. The use cases for that are endless. Be good if you could check out. We've all played with it. All the retailers have played with the Amazon Go type technology where you can remove the checkout. That's going to eventually become affordable, and we'll see the checkout disappear. And then you have this massive sort of leveraging of insight and data to inform the shopping experience I was saying earlier. So I can see, and more robotics and more automation, so I can see stores becoming far more data intensive in the future, and probably latency, relevant for latency. So yeah, I can see it, but to all the comments that were against the proposition a minute ago, it had to be a phenomenal business case to rip out Wi-Fi.
Exactly.
Because we spent a lot of money on backhaul and Wi-Fi, right?
Yeah, and it's that dear old legacy, isn't it? Legacy Wi-Fi is just not as old as some of the other legacy.
Yeah.
And I guess one of the questions which continually comes up when I'm talking to non-telecom people is, what product are they selling you? What product do you buy off the telecom industry? Because I think there's a bit of an identity issue for the industry.
Yeah.
Because we get obsessed about the next generation and all the automation and so on. Is it? And in fact, at a recent event, one strategy guy said to me, "Oh, we sell data." I said, "Is it data? What? Is it broadband? Is it? Should we simplify it down to say you sell us fixed and mobile broadband? Is that the?"
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't want to depress you, but yeah, I mean, to a certain extent.
Don't worry, I'm a telecoms analyst.
Yeah, to a certain extent, we buy connectivity. We buy connectivity. I'd like to buy connectivity outcomes.
Right.
So actually, I'd be interested if somebody could come and underwrite a whole series of my business outcomes. Right, speed of checkout is a classic KPI that we're interested in. That's a combination of technology, process, people. But I certainly wouldn't be able to get the technology providers, any of them, to sort of underwrite and underpin that. I might be interested in that as a value case.
That's the insurance industry, isn't it? It's probably a blend of the insurance industry, telecom, and an integrator.
Yeah.
But
I think ultimately it does come back to what do we want to do as a business, and I do think this deploying data, immersive experiences, that's where I think you should focus your energy on. How do you come together with partners to really enable businesses like that?
So you've had 5 years at Sainsbury's, a somewhat different experience than Telefonica, probably a bit less travel than compared to...
Less travel, yeah.
A little bit. What's next? I believe you're stepping down from Sainsbury's in March, and then you've been involved in the industry anyway, haven't you? You've been on various boards. So what's next for you?
I retire in March from Sainsbury's, which I'm excited about. And I'm actually chairing a digital infrastructure investment trust. So that's one of the things I'll be doing, which is FTSE 250, and we have bought Aquacom's subsea cables, Verne Global, Icelandic data center business. So really focusing on sustainable internet assets and obviously a return for shareholders. So I'm back in Telco a little bit, albeit as a chairman of a trust, not operating the assets themselves. And I'm looking forward to doing some other things.
There's a CEO role going at Vodafone, apparently.
Yeah. A CEO as well. Yeah, CEO, a CTO.
You can step up, mate. You can do that. I think in order to keep Guy's blood pressure down, we should probably draw that to a close. But are you able to stay around for a drink afterwards and for the
I'll be around for a bit, yeah.
A bit afterwards. Ladies and gentlemen, it was a pleasure last time. It's a pleasure this time. Phil Jordan, thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.